Hey folks, welcome back. If you've clicked on this year is incredibly tough. With these weather conditions, we could lose many Americans. God bless you. You've probably already sensed that something major is about to unfold nationwide. And trust me, this storm is shaping up to be an absolute monster. I honestly can't recall the last time I witnessed a winter weather setup this expansive. We're looking at winter storm warnings stretching all the way from New Mexico clear up to the Northeast. And here's the kicker. Ice storm warnings are hugging the southern flank of this beast, running from East Texas through Tennessee, winding into the Carolinas, and even grazing northern Georgia. The next 2 to 3 days are going to be wild. So strap in while I walk you through what's coming now. I've got to level with you right off the bat. While plenty of regions are locked and loaded for major impacts, there are definitely some spots where I think we might see things fall short of expectations. Yep, that includes chunks of the Northeast. Hang tight because I'm going to break down exactly where. I'm feeling confident and where the forecasts might miss the mark. Let's kick things off down south and work our way north. Texas is about to get hammered with a messy blend of snow and ice sweeping across the state. As we push through Saturday night into the wee hours of Sunday morning, that's when things really start cranking up. We're talking freezing rain, sleet, and snow marching further north into parts of Missouri. The type of precipitation you'll see is going to vary wildly based on your exact location. Quez, what makes this whole thing so tricky to pin down? Quick side note. If you want a detailed forecast for your specific area or town, drop it in the comments below and I'll get to as many as I can. Also, if you're digging the content, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Alright, moving on. Here's where things get really spicy. Come Sunday, this entire chaotic mess slides eastward. Sunday morning is going to be particularly brutal from Roanoke down through Charlotte, into upstate South Carolina, and across northeast Georgia. Freezing rain and sleet are going to dominate across Kentucky and Tennessee too. If you're anywhere from Memphis to Nashville or back toward Little Rock, ice is your main worry. You'll see a mixed bag of snow, sleet, and freezing rain, with some areas flipping over to all snow as colder air comes rushing in behind the system. Meanwhile, the heavy snow factory really fires up across Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and Connecticut. I could literally list every state getting hit, but we'd be here until tomorrow morning. The reach of this thing is just that insane. But hold up, let me talk about something crucial here, especially for those right along the coast. I'm looking at you, New York City and Long Island. I think there's a seriously high chance the snow totals don't live up to the hype. We'll dive into the nitty-gritty in just a sec because, I know tons of you are watching from that area wondering what's actually going to go down. Let's crunch some numbers. Starting across the southern plains and diving into parts of the deep south, we're expecting some genuinely dangerous icing. Louisiana and Mississippi are sitting in the bullseye for significant ice buildup. Some spots could see over an inch of ice. And that's no joke. An inch of ice takes down trees, snaps power lines like toothpicks, and makes roads basically undrivable. The official forecast along northern Mississippi, right near the Tennessee border, is calling for over an inch of ice accumulation. And this isn't just raw model output we're talking about here. These are refined numbers from the National Digital Forecast Database, meaning actual forecasters have eyeballed this and said, yeah, this is legit. That heavy icing stretches back into northern Mississippi and then westward into Texas as the frigid air charges in. Any rain showers will flip to freezing rain and sleet. Snow totals climb as you head north. The Dallas area might grab a couple inches. Same deal over toward Texarkana, Shreveport. You're looking at more freezing rain than snow. But push up into Oklahoma, and that's where the snow really stacks up. We could see over a foot from central Oklahoma northward to the Kansas line. The heavy snow band then sweeps east into southern Missouri and dips into northern Arkansas before shoving into southern Illinois. Don't sleep on the mountains either. Parts of the Colorado and New Mexico high country could rack up a foot, maybe even 18 inches of snow. You've got to be at pretty high elevation, but for those mountain towns, this is going to be a big deal. Let's keep rolling east. The Ohio River Valley is staring down some impressive numbers. Cincinnati looks to be in the 8 to 12-inch range based on current guidance. Louisville over to Lexington could approach a foot. But notice how fast those totals nosedive across southern Kentucky. That's because we're going to see that messy mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. The totals drop off dramatically across Tennessee, where plain old rain could sneak into the equation. That rain line might push further north than some folks are expecting, which is part of what makes this forecast such a headache. The freezing rain threat peaks across Kentucky down into Tennessee. Some locations could collect a quarter to half an inch of ice. So imagine this. You've got snow on the ground, but it's capped with a crusty, icy shell that gets nastier the further south you travel. Here's something that's changed from earlier forecasts. Chattanooga and the far southwestern corner of North Carolina, along with extreme northern Georgia, are now showing zero snow accumulation. That's a pretty significant shift. These areas will probably still catch some freezing rain, but the snow threat has really backed off. However, get up into the North Carolina mountains and it's a completely different ballgame. We're expecting quite a bit of ice up to half an inch or more in some spots. Southern Tennessee back toward the area just southeast of Memphis and into northern Mississippi is still on track for heavy icing. We're talking a quarter to half an inch of ice across a solid chunk of this region. Into Alabama and Georgia, not much snow is anticipated. But freezing rain will definitely cause problems across northwest and northeast Alabama, extending into Georgia. Atlanta and areas north, especially up toward Athens and northeast Georgia. We'll see some freezing rain. Greenville, Spartanburg. Up to Asheville and Boonall, these areas, particularly on the eastern and central parts of the mountains, are going to see decent ice accumulation that extends out onto the Piedmont. Down toward the Gulf Coast, just rain. But that freezing rain line could creep surprisingly far south into Louisiana and central Mississippi. South Carolina is where the real headaches begin. And it's not the snow you need to stress about, it's the ice. Even Columbia down to Myrtle Beach looks like it stays liquid, but head inland just a bit. And once you're up toward Conway and beyond, the ice becomes a major factor. This extends all the way up into North Carolina, where close to half an inch or more is possible along the Piedmont. And out into the coastal plain. Virginia is going to get walloped with snow. The Interstate 81 corridor northeast of Roanoke could exceed a foot. And the Greenbrier Valley of West Virginia is looking at significant accumulation as well. But even there, freezing rain is going to be an issue. Richmond might only grab 3 to 5 inches of snow. But head north and west on Interstate 64 toward Charlottesville, and you could see 8 to 12 inches. Then it transitions to freezing rain, so the full precipitation won't fall as snow. That's why totals look lower in some areas than you might think. Here's something fascinating from a weather nerd perspective. There's this wedge of warm air getting pulled out across West Virginia down into Tennessee. That warm air intrusion is going to flip the snow over to freezing rain pretty quickly. Before that happens, eastern Kentucky and southern West Virginia up toward Charleston could grab a couple inches of snow. But northern West Virginia from Wheeling back into southern Ohio is where the snow really piles up. Columbus is looking at close to a foot. Pittsburgh has a solid shot at nearly a foot as well. Somewhere in Pennsylvania is going to see 1.5 feet if they can stay all snow now. Check out the forecast map for Pennsylvania and New York. I honestly can't remember the last time I've seen both entire states blanketed with 12 to 15-inch snow forecasts. Some locations in this zone could top 18 inches with this setup. That's absolutely remarkable. But here's where my skepticism kicks in. The bust potential is right along the coast. New York City's official forecast is sitting at nearly 12 inches of snow right now. That's what the National Weather Service is running with. A foot of snow up into Connecticut, climbing to 15 inches in some areas north of the city. However, I think there's a genuine chance this doesn't verify, especially right along the immediate coastline. Multiple models, including the NOM and the RRFs, are showing mixed precipitation pushing surprisingly far north. We're talking mixing into southern Connecticut, Long Island, and New Jersey. It even shows rain down toward Cape May and into the Delmarva. If you switch precipitation from snow over to freezing rain and sleet, your snow totals tank dramatically. So if there's a bust zone in this entire setup, in my opinion, it's right there along the coast. Confidence grows significantly the further inland you go. Boston. I'd say confidence is pretty solid, but that mixing line is definitely concerning for coastal areas. Thank you guys. See you next video.